This is CNN.
Bill Clinton is on tour in the Midwest, playing a few bars of his economic tune and dismissing some tightening poll numbers.
And President Bush is kicking around in the South, looking to score a stunning upset on Election Day. Hello, everyone. I'm Natalie Allen in Atlanta.
I'm David French. Welcome to Early Prime. With just 10 days until the election, Bill Clinton's lead in the polls seems to be slipping. The latest CNN Time magazine poll of registered voters shows Clinton getting 41% of the vote if the election were held today. That's an 8-point lead over President Bush's 33%. Ross Perot has 19%. In today's CNN USA Today tracking poll, Clinton still holds an 11-point lead over the president. Clinton got 41% of the vote compared to the president's 30% and Ross Perot's 20%. Also, a new ABC poll has Clinton in command of 261 electoral votes. 270 are needed to win the presidency.
President Bush spent the day courting voters in the South, shoring up support in states that have been traditional Republican strongholds. As CNN's Jill Doherty reports, the president continued to hit hard on the character issue that's become a campaign theme.
George Bush, playing an early morning pickup soccer game with some Alabama school children, kicked 2 goals, an easy feat for the former captain of his prep school soccer team. But here in Montgomery, Alabama, with less than 2 weeks to go before Election Day, George Bush once again was trying to hold the line in traditionally Republican territory, now up for grabs.
We are going to achieve another stunning upset victory and represent these people in the United States for 4 more years.
At this appearance at a Montgomery shopping mall, the president honed in on his key message that Bill Clinton can't be trusted to do anything but raise taxes.
Watch your wallet.
And as he has in almost every appearance for days, he laid into the news media.
They wouldn't know good news if it hit them in the face.
In an interview with CNN, Bush once again discounted polls showing him behind Clinton. He said he's ignoring them.
We're going to win the election because we're right on the issues. We're going to win the South. I'm absolutely convinced of it.
As the president spoke of character, his campaign spokeswoman Tory Clark was standing by Dan Quayle's chief of staff, Bill Kristol, who this week read to a Republican audience excerpts of conversations taped by Jennifer Flowers, who claimed she had an affair with Bill Clinton. Kristol, alleging the tape showed Clinton advising Flowers to lie, charged that Democratic lawmakers who rejected Senator John Tower's nomination for defense secretary because of his private behavior are not applying that same standard to Clinton. The Clinton campaign jumped on Kristol's comments.
I think Billy Kristol's speech shows just how pathetic and desperate the Republican campaign is getting.
The president rejected the charge of desperation.
But if I comment on it, either the substance or why, somebody will say, there he is cleverly injecting an issue in that he said he isn't going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about it.
President Bush still maintains that voters will not make their final decision until the last week, that the character issue is key to getting them to vote for him at the last minute. Jill Doherty, CNN, Montgomery, Alabama.
Today, Clinton is leveling attacks on Mr. Bush's economic record, this time during a Midwestern campaign swing. The Arkansas governor briefly played a different tune, though, for supporters at a Wisconsin dairy farm. His saxophone rendition of Danny Boy was met with polite cheers. Clinton later faced some pointed questioning, though, from a voter concerned about his stand on the issue.
Too liberal. What will you do?
How can you say it? My state has the second lowest tax burden in the country.
For one thing, sir.
All right, well, that's different. I'm pro-choice. And that's, if you don't want to vote for me on that, that's fine.
Not only that,
but my state has the highest job growth rate in the country, second lowest tax burden, the lowest spending in the country. Did you know that?
What will you do for my children? There's 3 kids in college. Will there be jobs for them?
Absolutely. But if you've got 3 choices in this election. You've got 4 more years of trickle-down economics. This is the first time in 50 years when there's the first time in 50 years no private sector jobs produced in America as a whole. There are 35,000 fewer jobs in the private sector than there were when Bush took office.
Clinton called President Bush a job destroyer, and he said independent candidate Ross Perot's economic plans would also cost jobs.
Independent candidate Ross Perot is urging voters to ignore his rival's claims that a vote for him is a wasted vote. Perot appeared in another half-hour TV ad last night. He has spent more than $17 million on TV spots this month. The Texan still has no official campaign stop scheduled, but aides now say he will appear at rallies tomorrow in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Now, these political programming notes for you. President Bush was interviewed today for Newsmaker Saturday. That airs in about half an hour at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Later tonight at 6:30 Eastern, Vice Presidential candidate Al Gore is the guest on Both Sides with Jesse Jackson. And then at 10 p.m. Eastern, stay tuned for an hour-long CNN special on Ross Perot. And all three candidates will make individual appearances next week on Larry King Live. Bill Clinton is scheduled for Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, Ross Perot for Thursday at 9, and George Bush Friday also at 9 Eastern. Each candidate will take viewer calls. Rebels in Liberia have reportedly taken 4 United Nations workers hostage. Military sources say supporters of rebel chief Charles Taylor snatched the workers Thursday in central Liberia. The rebels accuse them of spying. Their capture comes in the midst of a 9-day-old offensive in Monrovia launched by Taylor's troops. The UN workers are affiliated with a 6-nation force sent in to mediate in the 3-year conflict.
White House Chief of Staff James Baker reportedly promised Iraq $1 billion in grain credits to get Saddam Hussein's help in promoting a Mideast peace plan. The Associated Press is reporting the details, citing documents from the Senate Agriculture Committee. Baker was Secretary of State in 1989 when he reportedly sent a cable to Baghdad mentioning the credits. He reportedly then asked Baghdad to pressure the PLO to agree to certain recommendations. Baker apparently insisted on the grain credit program despite increasing evidence that Iraq was bartering the credits to expand its nuclear arsenal. The family members of an Air Force pilot shot down over Vietnam say they were shown photos of their dead father more than a month ago. U.S. officials provided the photos to the son and daughter of Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Morrison. He was shot down over North Vietnam in November 1968. His family described the contents of the photos.
There's approximately 8 photos, and it clearly depicts my father laying there dead. In fact, the pictures identify him that he was fully clothed in his flight suit, and it's right after they shot him.
I think my first thought was I wanted to hold him and embrace him and help him through any pain that he might have been going through. And I think my second thought after that was one of rejoicing, because I knew that for the last 24 years he's not been struggling, that because of his faith in the Lord Jesus Christ, that he's in heaven for the last 24 years. And so that brought a lot of peace to me.
The Morrison notification became public after a U.S. delegation returned from Hanoi this week with new information on U.S. servicemen and promises of full access to Vietnamese archives.
An area used to earthquakes experiences a strong one today. Ahead on Early Prime, we'll have the latest on casualty and damage figures from a tremor in the former Soviet Republic of Georgia. And now that their main goal is taken care of, the Columbia astronauts do some out-of-this-world experimenting. And at 25 past, oh, say, can you see? These flags don't look like old glory. That's because they're supposed to be new glory. We'll explain.
CNN. An earthquake rumbled through the Caucasus Mountains last night in the former Soviet Union. The quake was felt in Georgia, Armenia, and Russia. It measured 6.7 on the Richter scale. Dozens of homes were destroyed. The Georgian Prime Minister traveled by chopper to assess the devastation. So far, there is 1 death reported, but officials fear there could be more. Rescuers trying to get to the mountain villages at the epicenter of the quake have found the roads blocked by rubble. U.S. aviation officials believe a failed connection between the engine and the wing caused a cargo plane to crash, and they're warning the same could happen to passenger jets. The El Al plane barreled into an Amsterdam apartment building, killing more than 100 people. Aviation officials say the Amsterdam crash and a similar accident in Taiwan are probably due to weak pylon-to-wing connections. Officials have warned that 747 passenger jets also may be at risk, and they're ordering U.S. Boeing operators to check the links for corrosion or cracking.
Next month, a Los Angeles court is scheduled to hear allegations the government sabotaged a defendant in the Reginald Denny beating case. A former lawyer for Damian Williams says he took the case after the federal government told him to undermine it. Williams is one of 3 men charged with attempted murder for allegedly beating truck driver Denny at the beginning of the Los Angeles riots. The lawyer made his claims while in jail facing federal wire fraud charges. A Northern California man who was misdiagnosed as having AIDS has filed a claim against his health maintenance organization. John Quivenhoven wants $2 million from Kaiser Permanente to cover lost wages, medical costs, and pain and suffering. In the 6 years since being told he had AIDS, Quivenhoven has quit his job and suffered through experimental AIDS treatments. He says he was never given an HIV test to detect AIDS.
Astronauts aboard the shuttle Columbia hope to get a better look at their space environment with the help of a robotic vision system. Today was the first experiment of this Canadian-led project. It uses TV cameras and computers to give the exact location and orientation of an object. Scientists say the information will be critical in building any future space station. Astronauts today also conducted experiments on depressurization. They used a sack to draw blood from their heads to their legs. Scientists hope this will prevent dizziness when astronauts readjust to gravity.
Well, if you never seem to have enough time to enjoy the weekend, tomorrow you'll have an extra hour. At 2 a.m., most of the U.S. falls back to standard time from daylight saving time. So remember to set your clocks back 1 hour. And fire officials are using the time change as a safety pitch. They're urging Americans to change the batteries in their smoke detectors when they change their clocks. So don't forget. Right now, Ted Texter is going to bring you up to date on your weekend weather. Hi, Ted.
I changed mine on my birthday, my smoke detector batteries, that is. Let me show you what's going on in the south and eastern United States. The front is coming that way, but it looks as if we're going to have a partly cloudy to clear sky, a little hazy tonight in Atlanta for the big ball game, and temperatures cool in the 60s at the time we throw out the first pitch. North and eastern United States, still some rain there. The low is tracking on through. And in the southwestern United States, low pressure stacked up in the atmosphere has been spinning a lot of moisture inland. Eastern parts of Arizona, some flooding has been going on, some flash flooding there. In Kingman, Arizona, 2.5 inches of rain from this storm system. It looks like that'll continue, and the moisture moving northward, taking it on into the Great Basin, the plateau, over the next 12, 24 hours or so. Forecast weather map through the day into tomorrow. Looks just like this. Once the front is on through, we'll have good weather again tomorrow night for the next game in the World Series. Further north and eastward, it looks like rain showers across the coast. Beginning to clear somewhat, but still kind of a soggy weekend across most of the north and eastern United States, right on down into the mid-Atlantic states. The high pressure is coming on in the Great Lakes region, clearing it out and cooling it off once again. And this front, we were hoping, would bring lots of rain to the north and western United States. So far, not a big deal there, and you can see the moisture, the rain showers moving further north with that low spinning off the coast. It will be a little bit cool across the northern tier of the nation. Let me show you what's going to happen temperature-wise through the day tomorrow. Somewhat cool, downright chilly in the north and east with the rain falling there, 40s. Get on up into Canada. Likely you'll see some snow through the day tomorrow. Further south and westward now, right on up into the plains once again, the trailing of the fronts on through is bringing the rebound of mild air. So 80s all the way up into Oklahoma and 70s up into the Dakotas. South and western United States kind of mild there as well. Again, the northern tier is the chilly spot by far. We'll have more details about the end of the weekend and the beginning of the week when we come back, so please stay with us. Into Monday we take you now. Let me show you what the week's weather, to begin with anyway, will look like. Still in the northeast, Canadian Maritimes, you've got some rain showers there. And this front now moving across the Great Lakes, making rain showers. On the lighter side, not as much moisture here, but still some rain. And on the East Coast, beginning to clear very nicely on into the day on Monday. A little bit cooler overall, very comfortable weather for this fall now. Back further west, some showers in the heartland. Now, forecast for cities around the nation.